And welcome, Michelle, once again. I think this is our third or fourth time of connecting on the podcast world or in the podcast world, but we've connected many lifetimes, hundreds of times outside of that. And it's always so good to see you, always.
What do they say? When you love, you don't count?
No, I lost count at what or they say in that movie, with Tom Cruise when he said you had me at hello.
Exactly, absolutely. Yeah, we had it at hello. But
And that's
thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure to see your pretty face and your smile and love radiating around. So it's good. Thank
love
you.
rating around to the right of me, inside of me, and to the left of me, the family constellation tree that you, the mother of constellations, the the divine feminine that really was so pivotal in my life, that brought this modality just when I thought nothing else can wow me. You brought this into my life, and it has been such a great gift since the moment that you have introduced it to me. So for people that are just logging on for the first time and in the family constellation world, what would you and how would you describe what systemic family constellation work is and how you got started in it?
Okay. It's so much and it's evolving every minute. Actually, it's very interesting because I'm just back from a long trip, a long week in Miami, and where is my base really, where I think we met for the first time, even though we both live in New York, where I lived for 16 years. This is where I discovered it. And it was pre-COVID, of course. So it was all live. And so for me, it has evolved so much from the day I discovered it in New York, actually. My daughter had called me because she had done it the night before, and she was so enthusiastic that she said, "Mom, you got to do it. I did something incredibly powerful. I healed myself. I healed you. I mean, it was like." And she said, "Please get on a plane, and I organize a meeting, and we'll do it." And I say, "Of course, I trust her." And the family became constellation. It's not constellation, family constellation. The family became constellation because she's in also now, participating and facilitating, and certainly one of my, collaborators, the way you are, and everybody, because I am blessed to be surrounded by young people that are bringing the work to a different level. And the last time I was in Miami, I had a message that what I'm doing is not family constellation anymore. It's just universal constellation. It's something that goes beyond frequency, beyond, something that we are evolving in now. We're not in 3Ds anymore. So there's a lot of things that are happening that we have to look on different angles. So I'm a little bit of a rebel, I don't work orthodoxy in an orthodoxy. Does that sound real? I don't know. But
Orthodox
unorthodox,
tradition.
yes, not
Yeah,
traditional,
you're
exactly. Yeah. And
you're
it's funny
unorthodox
because
indeed.
I was
That's what I
telling
remember.
I was telling my teacher and friend, Susie Tucker, and I say, I love you because even though you train me, you really don't mind that I'm not working in a traditional way. And so this is what happened. And This is how I discovered constellation some 15 years ago, I think. And I said, this is for me. This is what I'm going to do to the rest of my life. And like I say, I evolved. I went into a lot of different training and workshop. I worked with so many big names and small names. And I went to Slovenia for a World Conference, to the Netherlands to learn more about systemic. Um, I did not rest until, and I won't until I die. That's it.
And that's the truth. And it's the the education and you paying it forward to me and your daughter Masha of like being our mentor as well is I always say I must have done something right in a past life to deserve that kind of expansion, because it's not just a gift for me, it's a gift for my ancestors and what you send. It's a gift for the universal. And this is without ego. This is without spiritual ego. But for someone who's never experienced the constellation, like it's so for me, it's challenging to explain to someone. I'm like, you just have to do it. You just have to attend, because once you attend one, it will change your life completely. And once you see, you can never unsee what transpires within the
Yes, because it's something that is experiential. It's
right,
not something that you can explain. You can say, okay, it allows you to really go into the unconscious and discover, the base of your trauma. May they be family trauma, may they be cultural, social, um, that because we are under so many influences, and very often it's not even what we have lived through, it's what our ancestors that we don't even know the name have gone through, that we can carry. So it's interesting. And I had a conversation actually with Masha today. We also have a tendency to look at whatever has been detrimental to us, okay, that we can, of course, reverse. This is the beauty of it. And the constellation is just the beginning, it's not the end. People are not going to be healed, quote unquote.
right.
Is the start of the work, but at least you have something that you can base on. You get information, inspiration, you get something that is deep, that push you to really look more. And then it never stop, because it's a movement. So it's the
Right.
first step that everybody say you have to take on your journey. Okay, a journey of 1,000 miles start with one step. This is constellation. Constellation is that step, that open the door to more knowledge, to more information about who you are, and then you can work from it. But we are talking about that, and you know it's it becomes more evident every day that there are other things to go through. Like, we have a tendency to look for the connection with who have given us trauma, but who has given us talents. It's
And
also
gift.
very important.
Yes.
Gifts and everything else. I
Mhm.
mean, people that are artistic, it comes from somewhere. People that are, autistic, it comes from somewhere. But autistic and artistic seems to be different, but actually it's the same thing, you see, because it doesn't start with us. And it's interesting because that is the title of a very good book that I always recommend, that was written by um, the
Mark,
guy that I trained with for the first time with Susie that I mentioned, was Mark Wallen. And he wrote, "It did not start with you." And actually, recently I was going to France and I reached out to Mark and I asked him, "What's your title of your book in French?" And when he gave me the title, and it's interesting because when it's your language, it touches you more. It's why, whatever you are born from, whatever culture is behind you, that also is very important. Not just the family, but so many different ways of discovering things. Because I have heard the title in Spanish, and in French is the same, just a translation. In Spanish is "Este dolor no es mía."
the
In,
pain is not mine.
in French is "Cette douleur n'est pas la mienne." And for me, oh, it had a different resonance that it did not start with you. Because all of a sudden, in constellation, we give back. We give back with love. We give back with respect, everything to our ancestors. But all of a sudden, I say, yeah, if it's not mine, I can give it back. It's not that it did not start with me, really. Yes, it's true, but it's not mine. And that had more power for me. And ever since, and it's recent, it's just a few weeks, I mention it because I don't know if it does the same thing to you. And I know that you are multilingual and you know Russian. I would like for you to translate for me, for all our Russian friends, what would be the translation of "Cette douleur n'est pas la mienne"? This
Это боль,
pain is not mine.
это боль не моя.
Yeah. How does it feel when you say that?
It feels there's a concentrated energy of love.
Yeah.
There's depth. There's it's the aha,
Mm.
it's the wow factor.
Yeah.
It's 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 resonance. It's
Yeah.
about, when it's the language. It's so true.
Mhm. Yeah, and you know how
That's powerful.
obsessed I'm with language. Language is so important. Language reveals so much.
Yeah,
What we say has resonance, but what we say also has importance because it creates. Language creates.
indeed.
The way we speak is very powerful for the way we live.
It's so true. English was my sixth language, actually, Michelle. I don't know if you knew that. I was
No, I did not know that it was your sixth language. I knew that it was, not your first, but
and I was born in Brooklyn, New York,
yeah.
but I was exposed to so many different languages before the age of 5. And English was the sixth language that,
Mhm.
and I feel with my native tongue, I think the first language that I was exposed to was Russian. It was Russian.
Yeah.
And there's this harmony that is associated with that,
Yeah.
it really is. My
And I
grandpa,
think the first language is important.
Yeah,
Language is
yeah,
very important, yes. Because
absolutely.
I mean, I don't speak six language, only three, with a little bit of Italian as well. But I know because I grew up with a grandfather that was Russian and he
Mm.
spoke seven languages. Actually, it saved his life.
Same with my grandfather. Same with my grandfather. My grandfather was German, and the fact that he knew Yiddish actually saved his life, because when he was crossing the border with his younger brother, and the Russian army was during that, thought that they were escaping, he then heard, and they lined him up to shoot. He heard one of the soldiers speak in Yiddish, and he then he said, I'm not German. And he said, I'm a Jew in Yiddish. And that saved his life.
Yeah. And for
That
my grandfather, it was different also, but in the same vein. He was in a death camp, as a
Mhm.
Jew. But when he heard that past 40, they were going directly to the gas chamber, he lied on his age, and he was petite. He was not a very, he looked young. And then he became the interpreter because he spoke so many languages. So
wow.
it saved his life.
It's incredible. It's translating the essence of the soul, and this knowing a different language, and knowing how to interpret energy as well, feeling, and what the field shows up, what the field when can you explain, this is important for people that have never experienced, let's say, what the quantum field or what the knowing field shows, and what healing statements and how you're able to navigate through. And when you say it in the person's language, that's actually really powerful. I've witnessed that before with you, when people were, their native tongue was Spanish and or Portuguese, and you said, say it in your language. It's deep. That's when you see the tears come down and the heart opening.
Absolutely, because then you go back to your motherland, which is
Mhm.
another mother. Okay, you go back to the roots, which is the base of constellation, going back to the roots. So every sentence, we kind of do a ritual, because those are all ritual in the field of knowledge, the field of you know that is divine, because we and you'll notice, you've seen it many times, when we create a group and we open up the circle, we open up the field, we see immediately the connection of the people around. It never happened by chance. They always have some kind. Some people going to have the same birthday, or the same name of their parents, or the same date, of when something happened in their life. So it's this quantum field where everything is known, and it's beautiful, because you never get tired to see that, to see the connection between people. And that is beautiful, because it's community, is to get together, come in unity. And what is beautiful is everyone is giving their part. And sometimes it's not even the facilitator, because there is something that is happening. We all in it together. We all in it together, in life and in constellation, which is the reflection of life. This is what you do when you go to constellation, or when you have, a private session, which is a different way of going deeper. But the group gives you something special, is this sense of community, this sense of connection, this sense of being part of, and feeling that we are all in it together. And that is beautiful. And I think that comes from the fact that when Bert Hellinger, who is the father of constellation, was in Africa working with the Zulu. Zulu means cosmos, actually. He was working with them, and that converted him to the way because he came as a priest and a missionary, and he ended up leaving both to go around the world to find more tribes to understand this sense of coming together, this gathering, you see? Yeah, yeah. So this is the field. The field permeates everything, and being part of the field is something magic.
It really is. I mean, it's amazing. Both of my, actually almost every single one of my family members, except my father, has experienced the constellation work. And my daughter, who's 20, how much she, since she was little, was exposed, and she loves it because it the essence of the field is universal truth, and that the truth is what will set you free always. And some people may resist that, but once you open up, things get softened. Just like you mentioned before when you first began speaking about it, that it's a movement. And what I've seen in my own experience working with you and in other constellation circles and in my own personal experience, that those, what may appear subtle movements, may not necessarily have that impact on you immediately, but it does on other family members that may have felt trapped or misunderstood or like feeling with the energy of in a crossroads perhaps, or feeling
Yeah.
that they're victimized by life. So even if they're not in there and another family member is in the field, it affects everyone. That beautiful butterfly effect in the
Yes.
most way. There's no negative that ever can come out of constellation work.
No, absolutely not, because it's really bringing truth. And the truth, like you say before, set you free. It's very interesting. Only yesterday, somebody that I had worked with, the week before, which I'm working and coaching, told me something amazing for her is that when we talk, she had told me that she was estranged from her brother for now a long time. And just after the constellation and doing a ritual on her family and everything to make peace, to find a way, she met her brother in the street. He was on a motorcycle. And when he saw her, he stopped and he came and he talked to her for the first time in maybe years. Okay. And reconnect. And that is an example of constellation.
It's once you give permission and not loyal to that story, the universe conspires the truth to appear. And
Exactly.
it's
Loyalty is the word because you just said before,
mm,
sometimes you feel resistance. Resistance is loyalty.
yes, it is. Yeah.
Resistance is loyalty.
Res-
Loyalty to something that may be detrimental to you, but it's loyalty. Hmm.
Resistance is also safety for many.
Hmm. Yeah, because you close yourself in that cocoon, and then you cannot, there is nothing that you can do. You see, when you start constellation, it's um, it's like a sacred contract to be in the light. It's a sacred contract to accept, to see better, to have more clarity. And that sacred contract, you made it with your soul. Yeah. And it's very interesting because actually, I'm just saying that, and I remember because you always have moments like this. You remember thing. My first constellation, the young lady that was representing me, she was under a light. It was in my daughter's home, you know, what in the room that she called the red room that is going to be white now. She was under the light, and she say, I stay under the light. And this is what it is. Constellation give you the opportunity to see more clearly.
Yes.
It's a choice because you know we kind of have a tendency to I don't want to see it. I don't want to look at it because then I feel safe. But no, that is detrimental.
It's so amazing to actually see on the field when somebody else is representing you. As let's say I'm the client and somebody else is representing me, of the energy that they embody, which is totally me and my words and my mannerisms. And it gives you an objective point of view, like a vista point of view of watching it on the screen. And for those that may have been affected by trauma, or maybe family that has been affected by trauma, I feel like it's such a gentle, compassionate approach to cracking open the heart again. That's my experience.
Yeah. And it's the experience that is shared by so many.
Yeah.
Maybe not so eloquently say, yeah, is that the word? Um,
Yes.
but it's yes, this is what it is really. Hmm. Yeah.
And we often carry family burdens without even knowing, without realizing it. What have you found in your dedication to this work, like inherited patterns that are common, that you've experienced, that you've seen? And how does constellation work address it? Like, how do you give it back,
Okay.
without
So
guilt?
how many did I found? Do you have a few hours?
A few days?
Uh,
Let's say a few common themes.
you see a few common themes. Ooh. Huh. It's like having to choose in a very very well
It's a
furnished
constellation,
room,
yeah. It's a
but
constellation
there
buffet, you know?
okay, I'm going to tell you what comes to me at this point is that
Mhm.
feeling less than, having
Yes.
been abandoned, quote
Oh,
unquote, by mother, by dad, and sometimes even in their presence. It not, I mean, you would feel that somebody abandoned is because the parent left, but sometimes they feel abandoned even the parent stays.
mm, that's interesting.
So there's so many things that are related to mom and dad, to the lineage of mom or the lineage of dad, of course, because again, it did not start there. So we find a lot of trauma that come from cultures, a lot cultures, wherever you were born in the family, but not just that, the country, the culture, the history, the traditions
Absolutely.
traditions that were observed or not, there is so many things that you hear that can have an impact on you because they resonate with something that happened in your system, you see.
Absolutely.
So it's there is no really one theme. There is thousand themes. Okay, and it can be touching the body, touching the mind, touching the spirit, um, because this is who we are. We are energy. So automatically it can express in many ways. But what I find is that usually the three biggest domain where we feel that we're missing in some way, sometimes lightly and sometimes very dramatically, is health,
Course. Yes.
relationship, and career, talents, skills, the things that we choose to do in life. Because in a way, every one of us is born with a purpose. And constellation has really a wonderful tendency to make you aware of where your purpose is. And
Yes.
that for me is certainly one of the greatest gifts. Besides reconciling, reuniting, uh, including, because it's all about that. The opposite of consolation is exclusion, you see? So that is very important because it gives you the possibility of healing damage of many generation, and for the person many years of difficulty in one of those three domains, and that is great. Yeah.
That makes sense. Those are really the three main, the most common, even though there's thousands and thousands. And one thing um, that I have found that is so important with the constellation work is acceptance of what is,
Yes,
not
actually
denying.
it's one of the first systemic principle,
Yeah,
acknowledging what is, because
yeah.
when you accept it, when you recognize, then you can deal with it. Yeah.
Mm.
Clarity is what we were
Mm.
talking about. Clarity is the light, and it gives you the light. Yeah.
That is the truth. And as you heal and clear for yourself, you're doing it not only for your ancestors, but you're doing for your descendants and the future you, the
This
future.
is what is beautiful.
I
Is
think
that,
that's
yeah.
it's we all came here to serve, and thank you so much for serving us with your gift and sharing it so graciously and generously. I know that you and I talk often, and today you had back-to-back sessions. I mean, the way you work is the way I worked when I was 16, even, like, and even for us to connect now and you sharing this information with all your heart, I appreciate it because last year when we often do workshops and collaborate together because of the love harmony between us and sharing our communities, paying it forward, serving. Last year, what showed up in the field where we had about 25 or 30 people when we did a constellation day retreat in New York. And in all of these names that you picked out, it was my name and I didn't want to go. I said, no, I'm hosting this. I shouldn't go. And you took your animal print cane and you took me and you said, get over here. You sit down. You chose it the reason. And what was so beautiful is the courage that was exposed in the vulnerability. Because although I'm sitting there amongst my clients, your clients, but there's no hierarchy when you're in the field of the all-knowing, because the truth is the truth. And to have almost every single person that was there participate in a constellation for me was groundbreaking was groundbreaking, and they each afterwards thanked me for introducing you for the movement, even though not everyone had a quote unquote they were the client seat. But even as part of the field, every single person experienced a movement because we're all connected. And this year we have the privilege again on October 19th and 20th to October 19th, you're going to be there with me to once again have this offering for our community. So I can't wait. And I'm always open and curious to see what the field has to reveal at this moment in time, especially in what is going around, what's going on globally, because what affects one affects us all. We're one.
Mhm. Absolutely. And you're right when you say that, it doesn't matter if you're not the client in a group,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes you benefit even more because you're not nervous on a chair, and you're more open to receive, and receiving is also a principle, because you give and you receive. So the client gives, but everybody else receive.
Interesting.
Okay?
Beautiful.
So sometimes they receive more in being participating as a representative, or even being sitting in a circle and just watch, because it is always a connection with self. So yeah,
Thank you,
beautiful.
Michelle. You're beautiful.
Oh, you're
Thank
beautiful. Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me. Okay, thank you for having me tonight, to for this little gathering, and thank you for having me. Um, doing constellation on the 19. It's always a pleasure to go to you and visit your community. Community for me is tremendous and important, and I am privileged to have community all around the world, and
Yes.
so it's really an amazing experience to live that. And I feel fortunate that at my age, I can still be of service and have this um, opportunity to do it. So thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you. And for everyone that's listening and watching this, how can someone contact you or learn more about your work?
Oh, I have a website. It's michelleblechner.com. Maybe you can put it in the chat or whatever it is.
Yeah, I'll put
Um,
it in the show notes, of course.
And yeah, and otherwise, I'm very accessible. I have my phone number is 917-701-7511, and I am very, very technical.
Yes.
So I can do text, I can do email, I can do WhatsApp, um, and I can do Zoom. Actually, when the pandemic came, I very proud to say that at my stage of life, okay, which was only, I mean, 4 years ago, I was what, 78? It was great that I was able to go immediately on Zoom, okay?
But Michelle, I
Because
need to remind you something. You may have been my first facilitator, Constellation, my teacher, my mentor with this work and everything else. I was your first Zoom. We went on together. And that's like, I taught you that part. And after that, that's it.
yeah,
So I was your
exactly.
first
So
also.
I'm
You were
very
my
proud of
first
that,
also.
because you know what? It's not easy for
You
somebody.
got it, but you
Yeah,
got it.
yeah,
Teaching
yeah,
you.
yeah. So,
Yeah, that's
I'm
amazing.
but they stop there, don't ask me for too much technology.
That's it. That's it.
Just a
But
little
oh,
bit.
wait. You can connect to galactic too. That's another thing.
Oh yeah, that I can easier connect
Oh
to
my
the
God.
unknown, okay, than connect to the technology. But it's
Exactly.
okay. Because after all, what is spirituality but science and the other way around?
Exactly. Exactly.
Thank
We
you.
are all one. The stars, the cosmos, the planets, the souls, we are one. We are love. And I love you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I love you. Thank you. Mwah. Bye. See you soon. Bye.
See you soon.